All right, guys, that last video talking about where Pecali four wheelers and stuff came from, the names. I got to tell you about my college years, folks. And this is my work that I was doing while I was in college. Now, I went for about 7 months in computer networking, and I was dealing with that as a major thing. And before I switched over to the uh, web page design, graphics designs, and stuff. Now, in that process, I had to do many things. I had to design different logos and letterheads, and had to do ads for magazines, and then it got into where we were having to do commercials and all this stuff, commercials and uh, video stuff, digital, and so when I got as I started into this, one of the first things they had us do is they had us take ad, a real ad out of a magazine, and quit it. Uh, Take a real ad that's in a magazine today or at that time, take the ad from that and change it to make it ours, but it still has to be look real. It's still, it had to be, it had to be, you had to make it look like a real ad in a magazine. So of course, Watachi, I dig out my magazines. Can you guess what they were? Winchesters, shotguns, and rifles. Oh yeah. Well, one of the ads that I found in this magazine was uh, that it had a hunter down. He was down on one knee. He had his rifle up, orange suited and everything. A hunter. And it shows way off. You can see a big old buck deer standing up there. The ad stated, "Do the job right. Use the best tools. Winchesters, shotguns, and rifles." So I ran with that. I changed it to make it my own. Now this people was 20 years ago. I changed it to make it my own. Now actually it was more. It was 21, 22 years ago. Uh, I changed it to make it my own. And the first step that we started with, everything had to be done. You had to draw it by hand. You could color it, whatever you wanted, but your ad had to be done by hand. You couldn't use no computers or nothing like that. Everything had to be done by hand. So I drawed basically, it was a bed in a motel room. The bed was the biggest part of it, but you could see out the window and kind of see the street out through the window and stuff. And on the bed, I had a shotgun laying right in the middle of the bed. And this was an empty motel room. Nobody was in it at this time, or you could maybe think the guy's in the bathroom. But there was no people in the shot. It was just a bed, the shotgun laying there. It had a bag, it looked with money falling out of it, laying there by the shotgun. A mask that the guy would have wore laying by the shotgun on the bed. Everything was thrown on the bed. Even a note that you could see, even though it wasn't just laying flat, it was kind of bent and folded. But you could read it, and it said, "Put all the money in the bag. This is a robbery." That's what the note said. Had all that in the picture. And up at the top it said, do the job right. Use the best tools. Winchester, shotguns, and rifles. Now that was I had to handle all that, guys. But as I'm going through this 2.5 years that I went through this school, they would tell us, okay, something that you've already started, you got to do the next step. You got to actually do it in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, lay it out like that. And that was another step. And then another thing it would be, you would have to, there was many steps that we had to do leading up to basically commercials. And most people, they pick different ones, different things that they've done throughout the class to take it to the next level. Well, I stuck with one and took it all the way through because I loved it. And that was the Winchester ad. Well, by the time I was 3/4 of the way through the schooling. That I was in a class where we had to make the commercial for it. Now, had to shoot a commercial and it had to look like something that you would see on TV. Oh yeah, they gave Watachi. It was an expensive camera, folks. It was at least 35,000. I had a couple of different people tell me different prices that camera was worth, but the lowest price was 35, and it was up as high as 60,000. One guy told me that camera was a $60,000 camera that worked for the school. So I don't know, but it was a badass camera, big old camera, just like something you would shoot a movie or something with back then. And so I had to shoot this commercial, and I did it with my Winchester's shotgun and rifles ad, the robbery and shit. And so in the commercial, I used my nephew. He still stands 6'2". At that time, he was like 20 something. He weighed probably about 300 pounds. He had an old wolf-looking plastic Halloween mask. I brought one of my Winchester shotguns with me. And we went and found, I took this camera, and I had a bag. It looked like you could have money in it or whatever. I told him, we're going to use your car in the commercial. So we used his car in the commercial. And so we found this building. I found a building that it was an empty, I want to think grocery store, but at least maybe an empty Kmart. It might have been a Kmart. It was a big building, folks, but it'd been empty for years. But on the other, just a hop, skip, and a jump next to it, there was a building that had several stores in it that were all busy stores. And so I chose to go in up there. We went up at night after the heat went down, because it's hotter than heck in Arizona, folks. So we waited till the sun went down, and then we went out there to this building, me and my nephew. And I set up the camera, and we had him where he was going to be running up, and then jump into the car. And then he had to set the shotgun right, so that the shotgun was in the shot, and he would throw the bag of money on the seat, and he would rip his mask off. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have had a line or two to say, you know. And so we're shooting this, and somebody calls the Mesa Police Department. They tell them, somebody's got a gun. They look like they've just broken into that building over there, and they're still there. This is what the call to the police department, Mesa Police Department, was. They come in there 40 deep, folks. They had the place surrounded. None of them had their lights on or sirens when they came to this building. They wanted to catch the person. What they knew they had him. Well, Tati out there with a camera. They got the whole place surrounded, and then they spot. Oh, wait a minute. He's got a camera. 40 deep police cars surrounding the whole damn building. I've been shooting footage that I wasn't paying no attention because I was trying to get like close up shots of the gun and zooming back and catching my nephew, and I wasn't paying attention what was actually in all the videos around that I had. They had been there long enough that they were in most of my shots. I couldn't get them out. I couldn't cut it enough to get them all out. As a matter of fact, there was about 6 that wound up in my commercial. But once they pulled up and then they spotted the camera. I started breaking shit down. We were done shooting. I had some. There was a few officers that were left, and they had to come up and talk to me. And they go, you with one of the schools? And I said, yeah, because there's a lot of schools out there, folks. I said, yeah, and it was in the area. And they go, well, we kind of figured you was with one of the schools once we seen that $high camera you got there. And I said, oh yeah, well, that's cool. And they go, we got a call in, you guys there, or somebody. He was telling me the call that they got. And that's why there were so many that came in. And they came in with, like I said, I didn't even know they were there until I was surrounded. That's some funny shit, folks. I took my video into class. I was one of the first ones that had to show my commercial to the class. Now, all the way through my schooling, folks, the teachers have been telling me, listen, Brian, listen. That whole robbery, Winchester rifles and shotgun, that whole robbery thing, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Today, you would not be able to sell that. You would be wasting your time. I said, oh, yeah? And they go, yeah. I said, oh, okay, so am I here to do somebody else's work or am I here to do my work? And they go, no, you're here to do your work. And I said, okay, this is my work. And every teacher I had that told me that, they gave me an A on my project or whatever I was doing. They gave me an A on it, folks. Even the teacher I told, Fakawi Matt, top of the mountain. I got an A on that stuff. But they let me, and I this is in my portfolio, folks. I got a portfolio. And I pushed this all the way through. Now, at the end, when I got done showing the class and everything, the teacher asked questions, and I allowed other people to ask first questions because I could not cut the cops out of my commercial. There was so many cops there that I could not get all of them out of it. I cut a lot of them out of it, but I couldn't cut all of them out of it. One of the first questions my teacher asked was, Brian, or Mr. Grooms, he said, were the police actually a part of your commercial, or was they a happenstance or some shit like that? And I said, oh no, that wasn't a part of my doing. You can thank somebody else for that. And then, I explained to him, and I didn't really have to explain anything when my whole commercial was about shotguns and rifles and the guy robbing a place and with a rifle and cops showing up. He just couldn't believe that so many of them was there. And I ended up telling him that you don't even know how many was there. I cut most of them out of it, and he laughed about that. Now, after I graduated, or I got through his class, not graduated, But after I got through his class, he was one of my last few classes anyway. And he come up to me and he goes, Mr. Grims, I got to ask you. I said, yeah. He goes, do you think any of that would have worked in today's society? And I said, if somebody asked me to do it, that's the way I'd do it. And he goes, well, do you think it would work? Would you make it? I go, I don't know. I don't know what. I'm just giving you my work, you know. And he goes, well, I want to ask you something. Or I want to tell you something. He goes, that would not work today. No matter what you did with that, you would have wasted every minute, every dollar, everything you involved into that would have been a waste of money, and you would have lost on it. I said, oh, okay. I said, that's cool. And he goes, but I want to ask you something. I said, all right. He goes, do you mind if I use your commercial for my teach in my class? I go, well, yeah, hell yeah. You want to use my stuff? What do you want me? You need me to sign some copyright? I'll sign it right over to you. And then I'm sitting there and I go, wait a minute. You just told me that this would not work today. It'd be a complete waste of time and money. So why would you want to ask me to use this in your teaching your class? And he looked me straight in the eye and said, I want to use it as to show people what not to do. And I busted up. I busted up, folks. And I gave him permission. He might, if he's still teaching there, he was a younger guy, or he was about my age. He could still be teaching there today. And I don't know if he ever used it or if he always used it. But he asked me for permission to do it. So even my work that they told me wouldn't work, it was still being used to teach. How many of you guys can say that shit? Huh? I don't know why this stuff happens to me. You guys, God loves you. I love you as well. Seek Jesus' path. That's all I care about. Today, that's all I care about is helping you. If you ain't on it, helping you get there. Because I'm telling you what, my world's changed so much. In so many better ways than you guys can even imagine. Please seek Jesus' path. It will get you many things. Love you.